What's up, my sweet little squids? You're listening to the YNGP podcast. This is a show where I, Yammienoob, motorcycle YouTuber and MotoGP fanatic, and the esteemed and eccentric Whitney Hazelmeyer chat about all things racing, MotoGP, World Superbike, Moto America, and more. We cover the latest races, all of the news both on and off track, and give you our opinion on what's going on in the world of motorcycle racing. If you want to watch these live and participate in giving us comments, questions, and more, join our community over at www.yammienoob.co. Sign up as a member and get access to our exclusive Discord server, entries to win our fantastic giveaway motorcycles, discounts on our store, rental bikes from Twisted Road, and more. Let's get into the show. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the YNGP podcast. We do not have any racing news to cover this week because we eagerly await the final round of Valencia for MotoGP next week, and the recording date is October 31st. Very spooky over here on this recording date. Very scary. We are not talking anything scary. We are talking about World Superbike and why you should care. That's the main nugget of the podcast today. And then the second half, we're going to be talking about the best racing liveries that we could find.
I'm coming in with the vintage liveries.
Yep.
You got the more modern ones.
Some more modern ones, yep. We have some Rossi simping because, of course, we do. Because he for better or for worse, had some of the coolest liveries, too.
Yeah. Yes, he should.
So if you're tuning in, just listening to this, know that the audio-visual component is better enjoyed on YouTube, where you can actually see the liveries we're going to cover here on the latter half of the podcast. But let's start talking about World Superbike.
So you know what I was watching this morning?
What?
I was watching the final lap in Aragon.
Yeah.
There was a battle between Jonathan Rea and Bautista.
Yep.
And typical Ducati fashion, coming in with that wicked straight line energy.
Yep.
And then Rea on his ZX10 RR.
Yeah.
You can see him just pushing it.
Yeah.
And he wins.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And sure, then I start diving into the news and it's all like, okay, here's Ducati again, conquering it. And the ZX10 is on a decade-old platform, not really getting any, but...
So it's interesting because Ducati just this year kind of was able to be outrageously competitive with Bautista back on the bike. Because he actually in 2019 was on that bike and it looked like he was going to win the championship and sweep. And then second half of the season, he kind of lost it all and then Rea won again. But historically, Ducati's done really well in the championship. But recently, it's been Kawasaki's game. Jonathan was a 6-time champion with the Kawasaki in a row. 6 times. It was getting, I stopped watching, I think in 2016, because I was like, this dude just keeps winning, like it's so boring.
Right.
And he would just win by a mile and the racing was boring. But recently, the racing is so good in World Superbike.
The racing was really good. It was really cool to see. The wheels are off the ground, whether it's the front.
Yep.
The back is skidding in. You're seeing them just like...
Yeah.
I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this more than GP.
Right. Yeah, and that's been the weird thing because Dorna owns both series. Right. As of 2013, Dorna owns World Superbike. And it's weird because it's like, well... You have two of basically competing products that are so similar, right? Like it's motorcycle racing, right? Like, yes, one is GP and it's the Formula One of racing, motorcycles, blah, blah. But yeah, the racing in World Superbike has been so good. These battles, these tight twists and turns, people crashing out at the last minute. It's super exciting to watch. But you don't have as much like of the... the halo effect that GP has, you know?
I like that. I like that the budget's less. I like that these are production bikes. I like seeing BMW and Kawasaki in there. So I do like, this is a little bit of the man's racing. Obviously, we all want to see GP2. We all want to see etheric beings just kind of like do their thing.
This feels more, grounded. I hate to say ground roots, but it feels like that. It feels more grounded. So let's cover some of the history of this and kind of tell people what the differences are in case they don't know what World Superbike is. So,
like me.
Yeah. So World Superbike at its core is a production-based motorcycle series. So these are bikes you can go and buy on the showroom floor. There's ZX10s, R1s, V4Rs from Ducati, all those M1000s, all these production homologated superbikes, which is something you may hear me talk about on the channel when we talk about leader bikes. I'm like, these are World Superbike homologated bikes. They make them to fit this class. So there's lots of rules around it in terms of the displacements, in terms of the style of motorcycle, all that stuff. but they're heavily modified production bikes, which you were saying makes it feel more accessible, right?
Yeah, it's cool to see something that you can go buy. Yeah, they've got different ECUs and whatnot, but I like seeing them race.
Yeah. And to see, like, the thing I love seeing is, like, what those bikes are capable of.
Yeah.
Where you watch the onboards and you're like, Jesus.
And you can see it just watching them, too, that they're pushing street bikes.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's super cool. Championship started in 1988, so World Superbike is a little bit different from GP in that each round has 2 full-length races.
I noticed that. There were 2 races and then an SP.
And the Super Pole race.
Yeah,
which is a sprint race. So they race 3 times in a weekend.
Damn.
So World Superbike's kind of cool if you want a lot of action. You know, they don't race as often as GP, but in the weekends that they do, there's lots of action,
right.
You know? So that's pretty cool.
Do you watch all 3? Or are you sticking for just the last one? Or?
So if I have a particularly light weekend and I don't have a lot going on, I've got some time, I'll watch all 3 rounds and just kind of enjoy. But usually I watch just like 1 or 2 of them. Yeah, because it's a lot of racing.
That's a ton of racing.
It's a lot of racing. And sometimes it overlaps with GP in a weekend, and it's like I have to really pick which ones I want to watch, you know? But yeah, so what's interesting is GP is piloting out the sprint races next year. So it's cool that World Superbike already does that. So each round, I believe they can collect up to 62 points, 65 points, I think what it is.
How long has World Superbike been doing the sprint racing? The whole time or
I don't
recently?
know. I think the Super Pole thing was introduced somewhat recently.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a little bit different. And like I said, Dorna owns everything since 2013. And we were talking about how historically Ducati's been really, really strong in this game.
Yes.
Because it used to be a twins-based class, which is really cool. In the 80s, they'd race 750cc 4-cylinder machines, but they would allow the twin-cylinder Ducatis 1000s to come and play. Just because, 4-cylinder 750 makes about the same power as 1000 2-cylinder. But then the Ducatis were so dominant that Honda started making twin-cylinder bikes for World Superbike. Bikes like the RC51, the big twin-cylinder. I think you've seen it, right? The RVT 1000.
I was just Wikipediaing Honda RC things. So I was like,
okay. I think it's the RVT 1000, the Nicky Hayden bike. And then they started dominating, and then Ducati's like, oh, this isn't fair. Like, they're beating us now. And then Ducati gets a little bump up in the rules because that's how they always play. But yeah, that's kind of why Superbike has existed, is like this homologated production-based platform. That's really the core of it.
And there's been some like rev limiting and weight restrictions that they're kind of employing.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's some restrictions around that nowadays. I don't know if you read about that. But the manufacturers in it are Kawasaki, Yamaha, Honda, BMW, and Ducati. In the past, there's been like every manufacturer, so there's too many to list. Aprilia actually won a world title in Superbike, and with Max Biaggi, which was really cool.
So do they kind of switch out every year, or the
manufacturers?
Yeah. It's
pretty rare. They've been kind of the manufacturer lineup has been like the Kawasaki, Yamaha, Honda, BMW, Ducati for at least 10 years, I think.
Okay.
I don't think it's that often that a new one comes in. I think Aprilia was in 2011, 2012, and then they stepped out. But yeah, it's it's cool because it's like bikes that you see on the world stage that you can buy. They're a little bit different than Moto America bikes, because you might look at that and be like, oh, like, we see Jake Gagne on the Yamaha R1, the fresh and lean tack bike. Like, is that the same as the World Superbike bikes? And they're a little different. The ECUs are a little different. There's a couple things that are different. But basically, think of a World Superbike motorcycle as the apex built leader bike. There are no faster production-based leader bikes in the world, whereas GP is a prototype class, right? They make their own bespoke frames and engines and these $1 million plus prototypes, which is why it hurts whenever you see like Jorge Martin just yard sale these bikes. You're like, oh, that's so much money going, or when Aleix just dropped it.
Here, take it.
Yeah. Any questions so far, since you're learning about World Superbike?
You've got the manufacturers. I was curious about. That seems like a lot of racing, but maybe you're just trying to get it in.
Yeah.
They're not. How many tracks are they doing?
I think in a calendar year now they go to like 11 or 12.
Okay.
So it's a lot less than GP.
Right. So that's maybe why they're doing as many races per weekend.
I think so, which is why GP going to sprint racing is crazy, because it's like nuts. They're going to go to like 22 different places and race 2 times. I mean, there's like 44 races. It's like, guys,
testing their pee for cocaine. And what else?
And they're all zoinked out and uded up. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about, I guess, like the perception of World Superbike and the kind of pipeline of riders between GP and World Superbike. Do you know anything about this or no?
No.
Okay. So
lay it on us. People who want to get in the World Superbike realm.
People are trying to get in a World Superbike. So there's an interesting thing in that World Superbike is kind of seen as like where GP careers go to die.
Oh.
It's a weird thing. Yeah. Where like a lot of ex-GP riders kind of just go over there and try to like make a living over there. But again, the money's a lot less than GP.
Do you know how much? Obviously,
I think the top paid riders in World Superbike make maybe $1 or $2 million a year versus $8 to $10 million in GP. So it's probably about 5 times less. Like a B tier rider in World Superbike might be making like $250 a year, $300, something like that, which isn't bad. You know, you're eking out a good living, you know, riding motorcycles, living abroad and all that, but you're not making millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about how much sacrifice goes into racing.
Yeah, you're like, is it worth it? You know?
Well,
like,
no, it is, because it's like, what are you going to go do? Teach?
There's nothing else you can do.
You're going to go work where? I mean,
Yeah.
so it's, to me, that's like Yamaha Champ School too, is like trying to get as many racers teaching so that they can pay them, and that they're, you know, trying to find these little micro ecosystems so that they can still make money, because they've spent their whole life getting there.
Yeah.
So at least that there is a place for them to go and still make money while racing.
Yeah. What I worry about are the guys who spend their whole lives on something and then never make it above, like, I don't know, like mid-class Moto America. Then it's like you really don't have any other options. You know, like there's, I mean, a lot of these guys end up working as like reps for Alpine Stars or Parts Unlimited, or there's other like industry avenues if they're willing to, you know, trade out some skills. But motorcycle racing is a hard gig.
Well, I'm sure in the psychological motivation factor, if you've been in it for X amount of years and you're starting to see tunnels close, but are you still happy or are you exhausted?
Yeah.
I mean,
so an interesting one around that, we'll talk a little bit about specific riders to kind of cue in their like paths, right? So Cameron Beaubier, do you know who that is?
Nope.
So Cameron Beaubier is a 5-time AMA/Moto America championship winner. He went over to Moto 2 last year to go and compete with the American Racing Squad. He has never gotten a podium there, but he finishes, you know, mid-pack, top 6. He's done some pretty good results, but it goes to show you the level of competition at the world stage,
dude,
where he's a 5-time Superbike champion, goes to Moto 2, he cannot even get a podium. You know,
that is nuts.
It's really, really hard. And he's 27, you know, 28 maybe now.
Right. And what's the average age of a Moto 2 rider?
Well, there's like 20, 18, 19, there's these young kids, you know? And so you talk about the pathway and the pipeline, like you talk about the tunnels closing. It's like there's no path for a GP for him, right? So now he's coming back to Moto America next year, because you were talking about it, right? Where it's like, you're going to have a better life, right? Like you're going to be at home. You're not going to have to be abroad. You can win again, you know, like you can have fun, win, do your races. Like, you could do that for 5 more years in Moto America.
If I think about being Fabio and I think about being 25, and it's like you've spent all year riding your ass off, and then you win, and then you're like, I got to do it again.
Yeah.
Ostensibly for...
Until I die.
What the... You know, that freaks me out a little bit. So...
I mean, the whole thing with them is like, you get in and you get out. You get in, race for like 5 years, hope you make a lot of money, and then get out.
And then dip and then not have to work again.
Because the body too, with the way you can't do that for much longer than that. So that was like Cam's pipeline. But then there's another, you know, because he never touched World Superbike, right? He went from Moto America to Moto 2, back to Moto America. But Garrett Gerloff, for example, is a rider
from Texas.
Yep, you know that. He was in Moto America, and then he got the chance to go to World Superbike, and he rode for the Yamaha squad, and he's been there for about 3 years now. So sometimes...
And how's he doing? Because I saw that he was like hanging around at like 6th and
Garrett started off really well. Some podiums, showed a lot of pace. He kind of lost his way in 2021 because he had a couple crashes that were his fault, and a lot of people started like really disliking him because he crashed into Toprak, and like I think he got a lot of social media hate. And then unfortunately, I think it maybe psychologically got to him a little bit, which is really unfortunate. So he seemed to have lost that aggression and that kind of bite, but still a really talented rider. Hopefully he can do more things in the future. But, he went Moto America to then Superbike, and now hanging around Superbike, maybe at some point back to Moto America. So that's what I'm saying of like, it's pretty rare that you go World Superbike GP.
Right.
It's happened a few times, notably with Ben Spies, Cal Crutchlow, a couple guys, but more often than not, World Superbike is either the last place you go to from a national series, or like your GP and you're kind of like, let me go dick around with Superbikes for a little bit. So I think that's why it has the perception it has a little bit of like not as premier, right?
That's so weird because as a total novice coming into it, I love watching vintage racing. You can see a lot of people from the 80s and the 90s who were just diehard racing fans.
Yeah.
And I get that vibe when I watch World Superbike.
Yeah.
I'm getting like the core crowd. I don't necessarily see it as like, I don't know, like a GP runoff or anything or lesser.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, this is kind of where the cool kids hang out.
That's cool. Yeah, because a lot of people do view it as like the GP runoff, or the mutts.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, it's like, oh, these are the people who can't get in, and I'm like,
yeah.
But there's parallel realms in racing. I mean,
not only that, but like GP is becoming so competitive and cutthroat that someone like Remy Gardner, who this was his first year in GP,
right?
And he got on a Tech 3 KTM, which is not the best bike, and he didn't really have that great of results, but he's proving himself. He's a rookie, right? KTM's just like, see ya. And he's going to World Superbike after 1 year in GP.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean,
that to me shows that the GP pipeline is too tight and too competitive. But I guess if your KTM is like, there's a better, more competitive younger rider, get him in there. Why not? Right?
Yeah, it's like the prestigious private school, you know, and then
it definitely feels that way.
World Superbike's a public high school, but it's more interesting there.
Yeah. It's more interesting. The kids are more funny. They're more well adapted.
They're poorer.
They're not in some like weird one gender school that they never learn how to talk to people. Yeah. I think it's such a bummer because we talked about this on a previous podcast about how GP has the aero problem and the passing problem. And like, you notice how GP, like the first couple laps are really interesting and then they kind of settle in, And World Superbike does not have that.
No.
Yeah. Like there's so much close racing and awesome action. I mean, we haven't talked about it yet.
Big gaps too. Lots of battles.
Gaps, yeah.
Lots of battles. I can visually see how hard someone's pushing.
Yeah.
You could see that back tire squirm and those front ends coming up, and that you just watch that and you go, wow.
Yeah.
What a rider.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't talked about him yet, but Toprak is the man of the moment. He's the champion from 2021. Probably not going to retain his crown, which is sad.
No, because
Bautista's just too much of a Chad.
Because he's how many points behind? He's like
82
points behind.
82 points, yeah.
And then Jonathan Rea is 98 points behind.
Yeah, I think after the Indonesian round, it'll basically be over, and Bautista will win. But yeah, we were talking about how Ducati has had so much dominance in the Superbike class. But
I was thinking about this morning, and there's people criticizing the Japanese manufacturers, like, you guys aren't putting, what Ducati's putting in. And I was like, well, this is easy. Ducati cares about one thing and one thing only, and it's motorcycles. Yeah. So of course they're pouring all their passion and money into bikes. Yeah. And because they're going to do a brand new Panigale V4R next year.
It's updated. Yeah.
Okay. What's Kawasaki doing next year?
They got the same old bike, probably.
Same old bike. There's like some minor upgrades, but I would be pissed. Yeah. You see them getting a brand new bike, and you're gonna give me what? Some like minor adjustments? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because Jonathan Rea was talking about how he feels like it's unfair because the V4R is so like, it's a $40,000 homologated motorcycle, whereas the ZX10 is like
how much is that?
I think his double R is like $24,000 on the showroom floor, but it's basically the same as like a $17,000 ZX10, right? Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, is this fair? And it's like, well, yeah, like if Kawasaki wanted to, they could make a limited edition $40,000 homologated bike, but they don't want to spend that money on it. But Ducati sells bikes so they can go racing. That's what they do.
Ducati is the passion. That is the nougat of the passion Snickers bar. Yeah. Where what's Kawasaki looking at, and Yamaha, they're probably looking at environmental regulations, a potential economy economic downturn.
I feel like Kawasaki's worried about like steamship engines that they're making. And then Yamaha's like, how many pianos did we sell? Like, I mean,
you want me to dump how much money into this, and then how much money am I going to see, and how many people are buying ZX10s?
Kawi is so interesting because like most of their money is like super heavy machine manufacturing. Yeah. It's not motors. I feel like they do motorcycles just for giggles at this point, but they make such crazy interesting bikes.
And it's different now where they've been doing this. They've been doing the motorcycle thing. They care about racing deeply, but Japanese manufacturers are like, well, we've overtaken like, watercraft and ATV and cars and it's really cool though how you can see that you can bridge the gap with the talent. Like Toprak's on an R1 yes, 100%.
and he is so good at riding that he can bridge the gap, even though that V4R it's like a joke or how much it gaps in the straights.
I didn't get to see how much Toprak was doing versus like Jonathan Rea.
Yeah.
And I saw him pushing. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, but also Bautista was like on fire. So there's a lot of, they're all extremely talented.
Yeah.
So to kind of watch that, jumping in here, I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Time to watch the last few years just as interesting?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say
you said you stopped watching in 2016.
In 2016, I got a little bored. Yeah, okay. I wasn't really watching it. Then I picked it back up when
Which was 10
Toprak's.
Years ago now.
Yeah, I know, right? It was so long ago. Yeah, I'm like 2016. Oh yeah, like 3 years ago. I'm like, nope, that was like almost 7 years ago. But once I started getting glimpses of Toprak being really competitive and winning some races, I was like, okay, look, let me start watching this. I kind of picked it back up. And 2021 is when you should, if you have time.
2021?
2021 World Superbike. That was a good season. There was a lot of great racing. Right, if nothing else, just watch like highlight reels, especially of Toprak, because his riding style.
Let me check out Toprak.
His riding style.
Tell me about his riding style.
All right, so Toprak is possibly the most gnarly late breaker ever. It's what he does with motorcycles.
See God,
are crazy.
Ben break.
Yeah, something like that, like Ben Spies would say. He'll be deep on the brake. Like I told you, there's a clip of him literally rear tire a foot off the ground going to the apex, like all the way to the apex with just a foot off the ground. I'm like, how are you even turning that motorcycle? Nobody knows, he's very, very impressive.
Cool.
Yeah. He's very impressive.
So how long has he been in the World Superbike game?
I think he's been in WSBK for 4 years now, 5 maybe. He actually rode a Kawasaki, I think, with Jonathan Rea and then switched to Team Yamaha. But everyone talks about how they want to see him in MotoGP. And this was this was a big thing, I think, last year where they're like, is Toprak going to go to GP? Like, he's so talented. But there's two problems, right? He's a little older. He's 27, 28 years old.
Let's throw him out to pasture.
Yeah,
let's take him out back.
Again, when you think about it, when you have like a 19-year-old kid in Moto2 that's winning, you're like, well, I can invest 5 years in this kid and he might give me a championship. That's the problem.
That's ageist.
That's the problem.
It's ageist.
As someone who recently crested 30, yes, it feels bad. It feels bad.
We only have 40 more years to go. Well, actually, probably more than that.
Hopefully more.
More than, or less. Hopefully less.
Hopefully, yeah. Depending on how things go, yeah. I don't want to be around for the water wars. I'd rather die before that. Yeah. So we'll see. But Toprak, he's too old.
Anyways, yeah,
he's too old, yeah. And the other problem is his manager wanted him to go factory Yamaha. And they're like, listen. We know you're good.
You're
balls. Great.
That's a big
they're
move.
Like, but the best we can do is a satellite for you. He's like, and supposedly the manager was like, no, factory or nothing. And he's like, yeah.
And he didn't want satellite?
They couldn't work a deal out for satellite apparently. And now there's not even a satellite Yamaha anymore anyways. So
maybe he knew what was up.
Yeah, maybe he knew. So it's an awkward situation. So now he's just in Superbike, but he does well in Superbike, and I'm sure he's getting paid a lot of money.
I love this patting on World Superbikes.
That's how it is,
All right.
It's because that GP has more money and viewership and prestige. It's.
Do you think that you could boost the Superbike signal? Do you think you could ignite it a little bit?
I'd like to, because again, the racing is really, really good in World Superbike.
Here we are pioneering with however many people on live, trying to boost its signal. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, the YNGP podcast is about all racing. We mentioned in the top of the hour, it's like we cover MotoGP, World Superbike, Moto America, and everything else in between. So
and when we unearthed it, it's like I'll play. I don't know, because I would listen to you talk about it with other people, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. So it is fun to come at it from a, like, let's talk about it from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's almost like motorcycling. You need to find somebody to kind of bring you in.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're
basics.
like, what's a Turbo Hayabusa and why should I buy it as my first bike? Like, then you're going to get all the wrong information. Anything else you want to say about World Superbike?
I don't know. There was just a lot of like, what I thought was interesting was all of that. I forget what they're called when they make little, you're like, you can't, Ducati, you need to do this. And then you need to do that. And then,
I guess concessions or
concessions. There's like a lot of that, a lot of bickering going on lately.
Yeah.
And they're pissed because, each track they're trying to change their sprocket setup. And now they can't because there's like rev limits on it. And it's by 500 less revs. And, it's like very, and it's pissing people off. And
it's to try to even out the playing field a little bit.
Which it would be really hard to do, right? Because you have really talented riders on bikes and then you're trying to, I don't know, gauge them.
You have really talented riders, but also like the bikes, again, like Ducati's V4R is just a slight cut above ZX10. It just is. The thing makes 240 horsepower from the factory. Like, you can buy one on the showroom floor and it's making 240. So Bautista's bike probably makes like 260 or something like that, It's just, you're just like, what the hell? And the guy's like this big and he weighs like 100 pounds, So he just flies on that thing. The interesting thing about World Superbike, and I want to point this out because a lot of people always give me a lot of crap for talking about BMW the way I do. But the reason I do is because of World Superbike.
Oh, I didn't know this, and I'm always like,
the biggest,
you talk too much about BMW.
Because you own a BMW. Yeah. But the biggest reason I talk so much about BMW, specifically the S1000RR, is because where are the podiums? Where are the wins? Where's this super amazing bike that is so great on track and yet it can never produce results, no matter who pilots it? We have Scott Redding on it now. He's done fine. He gets like P7, P8. Where are the results, BMW? You don't have them.
Are there any known complaints about the race spec bikes? Like, what are you hearing?
I don't know about it that granularly, but
I also like World Superbike because it's granular. Like, when you start looking at the articles, people are about like this and that. Oh shit, okay, there's like a lot of information to dive
it's
in.
super detailed. But I mean, if I knew why the BMW wasn't working on track, they'd hire me to go fix it, right? I have no idea.
Maybe you saw something like somebody bitching about something, or maybe write down in the comments below. We want to know what. There's a lot of people who like to come and see what they've heard. That's
true. If you know why the BMWs don't work well on track, or you have some insider information, let me know. But it's the same with Honda too. The Fireblade, just not that competitive, no matter who pilot. Right now, they've got two former GP riders on it. Xavi Vierge wasn't. He was Moto 2, and then Iker Lecuona was GP. But still, nothing.
So what manufacturer are you rooting for in Superbike?
I always root for Yamaha.
Okay.
I'm a Yamaha guy. Even though I own literally 0 Yamahas. I now own 2 new Kawasaki's, which you guys are going to see all about that later on. But no Yamahas, but I always Yamaha guy.
I don't own one,
but I like them. Yammienoob, right? The whole thing. But yeah, BMW, they're just sucking eggs over there.
Sucking eggs, man. Straight from the sucking eggs bird's mouth. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's why I always poke fun at the S1000RR guys. Because I'm like, your bike's so great, why can't it win?
Damn.
Should have got an R1.
You just get them right where it hurts, huh?
Yeah.
I know I was looking at all the bikes and I was trying to think of which one. To me, the ZX10 kind of stands out. I don't know why.
Yeah. We have actually have a special livery we're going to show off for the ZX10 from 2021. It's really cool.
I'm a little bit of a Ducati eye roller, but it's like I would never be mad about that. It's like it's obviously such an awesome bike, but it's like you kind of want to root for the little guy. I know.
Yeah.
The little teeny tiny Kawasaki guy.
Yeah. Who's won 6 championships.
It's not teeny at all, but.
So I'll tell you one more thing about the prestige thing about World Superbike with an anecdote. So Jonathan Rea, he's a 6-time champion, and I think in 21 he had won 100 races, right? Wow. And he like put this big flag down. It's like 100 races, big accomplishment. And he came out in this article, and he was basically like, I don't understand why people don't see it as like, like a big thing. Like what did he say? I think he basically compared himself to Rossi, where he was like, it's a similar thing, And I was just like, but it's not similar.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. Nothing That's nothing like farting out in the open. It's like, dude, come on. Don't.
Yeah. So again, like, it's interesting to hear from someone who is like one of the best to have ever ridden in a specific class. And then he makes a comparison like that. And people are like, well, I don't know if that's the same.
Well, if you have to say it, is it the same?
Probably not.
You have to point it out to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
But I don't want to take anything away from that achievement. Like, it is insane what he did.
Yeah,
like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm like, oh, Jonathan Rea sucks.
Sit here and pontificate
about
Jonathan
Jonathan Rea could probably ride a pedal bike and beat me while I'm on an R1. So let's be real. But yeah, again, like, there is this perception gap where it's like, well, if you're so good, why didn't you go to GP? There's always that thing.
There's always that toe squishing. Like,
yeah.
always just
toe squishing.
Smushing you. Shut up. Get back over there.
Yeah. There's also, like, World Superbike is a very European series as well. A lot of their fan bases are in Italy and the UK and France and stuff. And so a lot of their riders actually come up through the European class system. Like, I think it's like Euro Superstock 600. And then World Superbike actually has like a smaller class for 300s and 600s, which is cool. Kayla Yakov was actually doing an R3 ride out there with them. So there's a lot of like intermingling with that too. So it kind of, it's a kind of a different feeder system for World Superbike. Whereas GP, you go to like Red Bull Rookies Cup, you go to Moto3, Moto2, GP. Like, there's a pathway for you. Whereas like these people who kind of jump the rut, so to speak, and get to like, they're always seen as like redheaded stepchilds,
That sounds interesting to me. I like that.
Yeah. Anything else, World Superbike? Any other questions you have?
No, but I want to keep talking about it if you want to. I mean,
I love it. I mean, I watch the races. I keep up with them. My level of understanding of it is maybe like 70% of what I understand in MotoGP, but I do like World Superbike a whole lot.
What's up next?
They're going to be racing in Indonesia actually next weekend.
Awesome. Well, then
November 11th, we'll be watching it.
We'll have a lot to talk about that.
I think we'll be talking about how Ducati's won the GP championship and the World Superbike championship.
God damn
and they're
it,
just
Ducati.
the memes they're gonna put out are gonna be out of control.
Where do you get your GP memes? Because I got to print them out.
Mostly on Discord.
I got to print them out
on Discord.
You?
I have a laptop,
Oh,
Whitney.
That's right.
Yeah, for those watching the podcast this deep now, I have a dumb phone now. I don't have a smartphone anymore. So Whitney's making fun of me. It's just to print out the memes.
It makes a really funny sound that I don't ever hear, and it sounds like a pager in heaven or something. It goes, paging Dr.
It sounds like an airport thing, right? That's what you said. It's like, boom.
Yeah, paging Dr. Yammy. Dr. Yammy.
Yeah. All right, with all that being said about World Superbike, let's jump over to the liveries. This was a fun segment we wanted to do, talking about the different best liveries of all time that we found.
Of all time. There's a lot.
There's so many. Okay. First of all, these are just our favorites, okay? The ones we're partial to. There's a lot. I think this may go a little long because there's so many. It may go a
little bit long. We've got 40 minutes on the Sony, so.
Yeah, let's go, baby. So I picked this first one. Maybe we can do it to where we'll do the one I did, and then we can do the one you did.
Okay.
I'll scroll down.
I've got vintage on there.
So the first one I picked is a classic one. It's a 1974 Yammienoob 500 piloted by Phil Reed. And I just want to take a moment to look at, first of all, the paint scheme I think is beautiful, right? Like the red, the silver, the yellows, it pops. But then look right here. You got nothing in that bike. There's nothing. This is like a totem of speed, I think it looks so freaking cool.
Would you take it to the track?
I'd do a slow parade lap on it. Single disc brake, I believe, which is awesome. Tiny little tires. This was Yammienoob first 4-cylinder bike, I think, because they were dominating with the 3-cylinder. So it just looks super cool. We have Phil Reed popping a nice wheelie here with the old school suit. I think he's wearing sunglasses underneath, which is just too cool.
Balls were bigger back then.
They definitely were.
Especially seeing so many crashes in the early 2000s. You're like, yo, I can't believe you guys were riding those.
Yeah, I think it's wild. So this is another angle of it.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple, pretty, iconic.
Yeah, I think it's really nice. Let's check out one of yours. I'll scroll down here quickly so that we don't see the other ones. So you picked 1992 Rothman's NSR 250. Great choice, by the way.
Yeah,
great choice.
The Rothman liveries. That top one I think was it's really cool because in Japan they had in the early 90s they were trying to pump out race replica bikes.
Yeah.
Which could you imagine living there and being like, give me one of those? So
I know.
That was one that was.
Whoops. There we go.
That one was for sale through Iconic.
Yeah. Yeah, the Rothmans is a beautiful livery.
Gold wheels, man.
Gold wheels, dude. You can't go wrong. And the stripe through all the way to the subframe there just looks so cool.
What is going on with that exhaust, though?
The two pipes? This one right here?
That, like, teeny... It squeezes
It's a two-stroke, baby. That's the expansion chamber, bro.
Dude,
come on.
Dude,
Come on, Whitney.
I don't know two strokes, and I'm not afraid to say that. I would kill for that.
Yeah.
That looks awesome. Yeah. I want one of those.
I really want a 250cc two-stroke race bike.
Yeah, that would be sick.
An NSR 250 is not going to happen because they're crazy expensive, but a little Aprilia RSGP, the 250s.
All right.
Would love one of those.
I haven't looked at any of the I've always just associated it with motocross and dirt bikes.
Nowadays they are, but there are a lot of cool street two-strokes.
And they made them for a long time.
Yeah.
Super long time.
Yeah. My worry is that it's going to be some weird temperamental little piece of crap that I don't know how to fix, and I have to take it to somebody every other day. So
just quit.
I think it's a project I can't take on right now.
Quit just fix it.
I don't have time.
Oh, that's true.
Because I bought that other bike that
other bike that I won't talk about.
Can't talk about it. It's a Kawasaki, though. We won't talk about it. All right. So my second pick was this guy. So this isn't a livery necessarily, but I thought this would be a fun shout out. This is Jean-Philippe Ruggia, and he was the first elbow dragger.
Ooh.
So this guy in the 90s was out there dragging elbow with the modern style. I mean, he looks like a modern GP guy, right?
That's a cool bike too.
But purple. Yeah, that Aprilia. You gotta love Aprilia purple. I think it's such a cool look. But the modern style on the old school bike, so cool. Nobody was doing this back then. This was in 1988.
I thought that they would be dragging them, but also when you look at older bikes in the late 70s and 80s, they're
big.
They're big. You know.
There's also like the AMA years where in like the 70s where they had like upright bars. Mm-hmm. And so you got to really search for it on an upright bike to drag an elbow.
That's like the last, if it wasn't happening, you weren't caring about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like whatever.
Yeah, no, not at all. Let's check out your second pick. We did this very intelligently by putting them at the top and the bottom. That's nice. 1988 Honda RS250R, Bubba Schaubert's camel livery.
He raced it at Daytona, and look at that. Isn't that? Yeah. Look at the lines on it. You got the yellow wheels.
The yellow wheels are just too icy for me. Another two-stroke bike, beautiful. Really, really love the look of this one. I have two cigarette liveries on mine as well that I need to talk about.
Dude, how could you not?
Cool. Because the camel livery was so awesome. The Marlboro ones are super sick. So cool.
That one was up for sale too. Got snatched up.
How much did it go for? Do you know?
Trying to look. Oh no, I don't know.
I'd estimate upwards of 50 to 60,000 easy.
Damn.
Yeah.
What do? You just put it in your living room?
Which is a bummer. I would ride it every once in a while on track just to give it the life it deserves. So I'm going to move on to my third pick. This is a classic one, kind of a basic pick. It's 2009 Yamaha Valentino Rossi Fiat livery.
I was about to say, you're saying it like I should know it, and I'm like, that's fine.
Whitney. This is the last year that Rossi won his championship. This to me is the pinnacle of Rossi livery. I know some people will debate me because of his Honda years, but I started watching and really getting into it when Rossi was a Yamaha guy. I think he's embedded with the Yamaha.
It's got magic gooch juice dust on it.
Absolutely.
You buy it for the seat, baby.
I love the look of this bike, but I want to also look at this.
What do you love about it?
Look at the lines. There's when you look at a modern MotoGP bike.
I do like the rack. I always call it like the motorcycle titty rack. Like,
right here?
What a beautiful the radiator. Yeah,
the radiator. Yeah.
Look at that.
I just think compared to a modern GP bike, how streamlined it is, how it just looks so purposeful and clean. This to me is peak like modern GP machine. Right. I don't like the way the new ones look. I do have a modern one here just because the colorway, and you actually have the same colorway from the retro bike, which will be fun when we look at it later. But I just love the look of this, man. This is the classic bike. And I wanted to shout out Jorge Lorenzo's spec Fiat Yamaha, because in 2009 he rode that too. He had the two-tone color. He had the red and the white on his suit. I just think it looked too cool. Too cool. What do we think?
I'm like,
you're speechless. You're speechless.
Well, yeah,
I understand.
I'm so speechless. I'm just such a big, like, I loved the Kawasaki green bubble fairing, like, dudes smoking cigarettes out there. So this is more of the modern iteration where I kind of don't see it as much. I like the two-tone suits.
I just want to remind you that 2009 was almost 14 years ago. So
what is time?
So it's kind of retro.
Okay, you're right.
What
should we call what I want to talk about? Archaic? Fossilized? Fossilized liveries.
Yeah,
brought to you by
60-year-old bike. So yeah, that I had to include the Fiat 2009 livery. I think it's just too cool.
I'm saving my comments for another bike that you picked.
Okay.
A more modern bike.
Cool.
So
let me check out one of yours that you put on here. So we had the Camel one. So the 1973 Yamaha OW20. Tell me about this bike.
Let's see. This was the very first race bike that was piston port designed and initially deemed too peaky by the intended GP rider Jarno Saarinen.
Okay.
By the time of the first race in the 1973 season, the OW20 had sprouted reed valve induction, making the power delivery that little bit more controllable. I think of speed block. I think of Kenny Roberts.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
but the yellow bike for me.
The yellow bike.
Yeah, but the speed block.
I love the white and the red though. That is sick. And it's got the bubble fairing, which hits me right in the heart nougat.
The bubble fairing is really cool. And then the speed block looks so good on this bike because you just see how it just like shoots out into space almost. You know, like it's a really cool look. Yeah, love that one. All right, I'm gonna move on to another one of mine that I picked. We have. Goodness, we picked a lot of them. All right, so this next one I picked is the 2003.
Oh, that's cool. I've never seen that.
Yeah, this is the 2003.
Oh, God. Austin Powers was just like everywhere.
It was everywhere, yeah. And so this was the last year Rossi rode for Honda in 2003 before he switched to Yamaha. He won the championship, and yeah, this is such a cool like end of the season, end of the ride. Livery.
It's like the bike is so cool. The movie's cringy.
The movie's super cringe. Yeah, has not
cringy.
Aged well at all.
No.
So poorly.
But at the same time, it's like I remember like going to school in bell bottoms. Like there was this crazy 70s revival crap because that's all that we do is like.
What's funny is now it's back again. I was on South Congress walking to the day. I'm not even kidding. I was on South Congress walking the other day with my wife, and we were going down on the sidewalk, and coming towards me were two kids that literally looked like they popped out of a time traveling tube or something. Like bell bottoms, like a green shirt with like a red collar here and here, like the 70s hair. I was like, wow, like we're really just 100%
awful bike liveries. Awesome.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, this 2003 Rossi livery, I just thought was too cool to not include.
God damn it.
I have one that's super cringe and stupid, but I had to include it because we said best liveries, not coolest liveries. Okay. So there's an important distinction. Do you want to check out one of yours?
Yep.
All right. So we did the speed block. So now we have,
look at that suit.
You can't go wrong.
Come on, Suzuki had some badass liveries.
You cannot go wrong with this one. 1991 Suzuki RGB 500. I actually have an RGB 500 on my list too, but with a slightly different colorway. Kevin Schwantz was
Kevin Schwantz.
Kevin Schwantz is a badass. Texas as well, man.
Texas man.
He just had this like kind of wild style to him. He would do wheelies all the time. He just had such a crazy cool riding style. There's a story I heard one time from Kevin Livingston, who was Lance Armstrong's cycling teammate, I believe. I got my bike fitted by him, my cycling bike. We're getting a little deep in the weeds here. But anyways, Kevin Livingston is also a Texas guy, because I live here in Texas. He told me a great story where one time he was out on, I think, East 6th at a bar with Lance, and Kevin Schwantz pulled up with like some AMG Mercedes in the 90s, right? This was like 92 or 93. He pulls up with the AMG, and they're like, oh my God, it's Kevin Schwantz or whatever. Like, and there's, chatting together as they do, two professionals in their sports, respectively. And then Kevin says, he's like, all right, I'm going to head out. And in the middle of East 6th Street, just pulls like a fat donut with the Mercedes and just leaves.
That's I mean, it just kind of goes to show like what racing was like.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, like we said, like they were like portly guys smoking cigarettes and just
cigarettes going fast, and when you crashed, you weren't coming back.
No, you were dead.
You were not coming back.
Yeah, just don't crash.
Also, look, that suit looks like it's made of, I mean, nothing.
Yeah, no, there's basically no armor in it. It just looks like just smooth leather. But look at the shoes, the boots. The whole
thing is rad.
Yeah, it's a really cool look.
Give me that whole get up and I'll go on my smart peeling.
Oh god.
Dork.
All right, moving on. So this next one is ridiculous. Like I said, we said best liveries, not coolest liveries. So we have Marco Melandri's Spider-Man 2 livery, baby.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
2004 cross collaboration with Spider-Man 2. He went out there in literally full suit and bike Spider-Man outfit.
Get out of my face.
Is this not the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen?
That is, I don't like it. I don't think I like it.
No, I hate the way it looks.
The early 2000s, man.
The fact that they did this, they're like, you're going to look like Spider-Man at this.
Yeah, but at the time, they're like, this is so cool.
They're like, this is awesome. Yeah, love Spider-Man. Freaking Marco Melandri taking one for the team there, wearing Spider-Man livery.
Can we get replica race suits? And this is yours. And then you've been bad, this is the one you got to wear.
When I did a bad.
I didn't know, when I was scrolling through your notes, I didn't know that was Spider-Man. Because it's not, you're like, oh, it's red and blue, and there's like a lot of stripes going through it. But when you look at it closely, you can
it's Spider-Man. And it shouldn't exist, but it does. So, easily one of the best liveries. All right, let's take a look at one of yours again. So, you've got classic late 80s, early 90s Honda VFR 750R RC30. Love the RC30. Oh my goodness, RC30 is just such a machine.
And it was cool kind of diving in. Do you know anything about Fred Merkel? Fred Merkel?
No, I don't. I probably should, but...
We should go over maybe some legendary racers, some like vintage ones, and be kind of fun to talk about these absolute legends. But I like the purple. Similar to the Aprilia purple, but a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also like that big frame.
Oh yeah,
chunky
big
frame.
Beefy aluminum frame, single-sided swing arm, gold wheels. I mean, this you cannot go wrong with this. It's beautiful. So cool. Check out one of mine next. We're moving on to some of the good stuff that I have on here. I believe we have. Yep, now is probably one of my favorites. So this is 2009 Ducati. Do you see anything funny about this?
The barcode?
Yeah. So they couldn't run the Marlboro brand on it because it was like against regulations. So they ran the barcode for the cigarette instead.
So that you'd walk up there with your giant scanner and you'd have to plug
No, it's not even to scan it. It's just like a basically a slap in the face to be like, we're still gonna have the product on there. It's just not gonna be what you think it is.
Yeah, you're gonna
and honestly,
it
ended up being such a cool livery.
And that bike looks nice. See, I like that one a lot more than the Valentino Rossi one. That's sacrilege. They were on the grid at the same time though, which is cool. But yeah, the 2009 Ducati GP bike was beautiful. Look how streamlined it is. And what's really cool is, do you know about the Desmo Sedici RR, the bike that they sold? So Ducati sold a Desmo Sedici RR. I believe it was their first V4 street bike, but it was basically a MotoGP bike. And it looks very similar to this. It was just this beautiful, really cool thing. But yeah, the barcode livery, kind of cool. That's super cool. Also, I like it where it is.
Yeah.
Where the headlights are supposed to be. It's like just barcodes.
Yeah.
Very 2009.
Very 2009, yeah. Which, have we decided what 2009 is at this point? Or do we have like a reference for that? No, because I was
like, The Matrix. And I was like, that was
Nope, that's like 2001, dude.
I'm just like, I don't know. I need a calendar. And
Ooh, classic. You had the 1968 RD50 speed block. You can't go wrong with the yellow speed block. This is one of my... They made an XSR 900 with this livery, didn't they?
They did, and it was super cool. But look at that. Look at it on that.
Yeah, on that it's like, wow, that is very cool.
What was the XSR one? Was like the 60th anniversary or something?
I think 60th, yeah.
Yeah, that one was...
Yeah, they also made an R1 with that same livery.
They did?
They made a yellow R1 with the speed block and gold wheels and bronze wheels. Amazing.
But you didn't buy one. Here we are.
No, because that was like 2016. How was I supposed to buy that back then? Now I got all this YouTube money. Just kidding, folks. All right, next up, we have another Ducati special livery. So this was 2006 Mugello special livery for Ducati. They always do something special for Mugello, and I just love the tricolore. You know, the red, white, and green.
What's Alice? Do you know what Alice is?
I think it's some company that was very into motorsports at the time because they were all over everything for all Ducati stuff. So I don't know what exactly they sell or do, but yeah, the tricolore colorway here, super cool, very Italian, and very Mugello too, which is awesome. Did you figure it out?
No.
Exactly. So what is it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, Whitney.
Alice is an Italian internet and telecom company.
There you go. Italian internet and telecom company. What do you make of this one? I
really like that. I like that one. I like it when it's clean. It could be on a modern sport bike. It doesn't have, like your butthole isn't plastered with whatever sponsors got it. What cheek, when it gets super, super messy, that's why I like the vintage racing liveries. They're more simplistic. They give a little bit more of a about graphics.
Yeah.
This is nice and clean. They've got the two people on the bottom.
Yeah.
Keeping it sexy.
Nice and simple. I think we have this is your last one.
Famous Flying Frog.
Flying Frog.
Vintage Kawasaki racing, photos are some of my favorite. I always loved.
Yeah. Do you have a poster of one?
I should.
You should frame one,
like one where they're all wearing just like the thick black rimmed glasses, smoking cigarettes and riding really fast, crazy
That's
Kawasaki
awesome.
bikes.
Single disc brake on that bad boy.
And just how the green was supposed to be bad luck. I don't know the origin of why it was bad luck on the racetrack, but they were like, make all the bikes green. So I always thought that was super cool.
That is cool. Looking at these bikes, you're just like, who would pilot that at speed? You look, it's got big twin shocks in the back, single disc brake, right side up forks, probably didn't turn worth a damn. Yeah, big testicular fortitude on this one. You have to have it. All right, next up on my list, I included a couple other ones here. So I'll skip over this special Rossi livery because we already did the speed block one.
Yep.
I wanted to shout out the 2021 special livery that we saw with Cal Crutchlow, the same red speed block look as well. Super cool. It looks really cool.
The bike looks massive in that photo.
Yeah. Like it just looks really cool on like a super modern bike where you're like, whoa, like that's really awesome, But yeah, the bikes have definitely gotten bigger.
Yeah.
Definitely gotten bigger.
A testament to the that design. It's timeless.
It's beautiful. So this is the one I wanted to shout out. So we were talking about Jonathan Rea in 2021. They did a special livery with the bike where they did the classic.
The photo looks old. That doesn't look like a 2021 photo.
Yeah, I think it's just a low res photo that I pulled. But I really like this the special livery on this World Superbike motorcycle.
They're bringing it back, a little bit of a throwback. What was that, green wheels?
Yeah, green wheels. The slightly not ultra neon nuclear green, like that older kind of like pastel green they used to use, which is really cool. So I like this one. And then I had this one as well too, because you had the Camel, and I told you, this is early 2000s Camel Yamaha. I just think it's so classic, like the yellow and the blue, really cool livery.
I wonder where those suits are now.
I know. Well, I think Rossi has all the suits. He's kept all of them.
Keeps them.
Famously, he wasn't allowed to keep one of his Hondas, which was
Why not?
But I don't know.
They're like,
Honda was like, no, it's ours. Then I also picked this one too.
We both had that one.
We both had this
Pepsi
one.
Suzuki.
The Pepsi Suzuki RGB 500 Kevin Schwantz.
Early 90s?
Yeah, I think 92 or 93. So cool.
Michelin Man on there. It's like, I'm sure, obviously racing got more expensive. The bikes got better.
Yeah.
So you had to chart logos all over everything.
Oh,
and it was like, nice. Keep them all down on the bottom.
Yeah.
Pepsi's got a great looking color
scheme. It's funny that you say that now, because now I can't unsee it on the modern bikes where they have logos everywhere, know? And it ruins it,
It does. It totally does. But bring up Ari's bike, because when I saw footage of that, I was like, here we go. The first modern livery that they hired a badass designer. It just looks good on the track.
Yeah, so I had to include this one, was Ari Henning's 2022 Laguna Seca Twins Cup race that he piloted, this Yoshimura YZF R7. It had the two-tone color on it, the blue on the one side, the yellow on the other side, matching helmet. This bike, I saw it in person. It pops like you wouldn't believe.
It stands out because it's not like a total sellout bike, or you're not selling out because you're just trying to race and you're trying to. It doesn't matter, but. I
think Troy Lee worked on this for 6 weeks with his team to paint it by hand. So it's like,
damn.
Yeah, like that's why it's like you can't. I mean, this is like god tier colorway on a bike. It's so cool.
And that to me is kind of like reviving a big part of racing in the 60s and 70s was hand painting bikes.
Yeah,
making it stand out when it goes fast on.
That's why one of our bikes we are going to hand paint.
Keep bringing up this super secret bike.
There's two of them. There's two secret bikes.
I didn't know that the other one was secret.
Yeah, both of them are secret.
Okay.
Yeah, the Discord boys know, but
Discord boys know.
They know because they're helping to develop part of it.
Right.
For the name and the other thing, you know what I'm talking about.
The name and the thing and the
other thing is don't talk about it. I think I wanted to cover just one last livery here because we're running up on time a little bit.
I had that one too.
So this is Eddie Lawson's Vance and Hines bike, the YZF 750. This is just like peak early 90s to me. He looks like a Starburst turned into a motorcycle.
Yeah, he looks like a sexy badass.
Like a Power Ranger. Absolutely. I thought this one was super cool.
But it stands out.
Stands out, yeah. Similar to the Yoshimura bike, right? Like yellow and pink. Really pops. I love his like accounting dad haircut too. Really nice. You know what I'm talking about?
Dudes just want to go accounting dad. Yeah, he kind of looks like
he looks like your dad who like manages the books.
My dad did not look like that. My dad was like
somebody's dad, Whitney.
Did your dad look like that?
No, my dad was fatter than that. But
I had a fat dad.
Maybe in his earlier years he made it look like that, But yeah,
I didn't know you had a fat dad.
He was a big man later in life. He was.
We had fat dads.
He was a fat guy. Yeah.
Can that
not his whole life though?
Oh, never mind. I was about to say, can that be the name of a? Okay.
No, it cannot.
Damn it.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up liveries.
On that note.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the YNGP podcast. We'll catch you guys next week for the Valencia round and the final of MotoGP, and then hopefully what it means for the future. And then if you guys have suggestions for what you want to hear during the off season, we are happy to hear them. We're thinking of covering the 2015 season because Whitney's never seen it, and I think it would be really fun to do a retrospective on it.
It would be fun to do a retrospective, and it'd be kind of fun to maybe do some. You and I watch it live, and we can get some
that would be fun.
Action.
That would be really fun. Maybe for the Discord boys, we'll do like a little watch party for 2015 races. That would be super fun. But if you have any suggestions, let us know. We hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we do love that you guys have tuned in. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Thanks for checking out the YNGP podcast. If you've made it all the way to the end, I can guarantee you're going to love signing up for our Discord server. Join the community at www.yammienoob.co. Memberships start for as little as $5 a month, and you'll get the chance to send in comments, questions, and feedback to the show, as well as watch it live. Sign up today at www.yammienoob.co.